Hey guys, it's your girl Cassandra, and I think you can guess what school I am breaking down today. I did get into Stanford, but I didn't choose it, but my brother did, so this is his little graduation, I don't know what you call it, tassel? But yeah, we are breaking down this year's supplemental questions, so let's jump right into it. Oh, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Cassandra. I got into every school I applied to, including all 8 Ivy League universities, as well as Stanford and a bunch of others, and I don't believe in gatekeeping, so that is why I'm building this free supplementals guide for you. It's a Google Doc that's continuously being updated with new schools at your guys' request, so leave your comments for what school you want me to do next. Oh, and you guys can also watch me break down my own Stanford essays in this video here and read my essays on my website. So Stanford has a total of 3 longer questions and then some short takes, so let's start with the longer questions. Number 1, the Stanford community is deeply curious and driven to learn in and out of the classroom. Reflect on an idea or experience that makes you genuinely excited about learning. And this is 100 to 250 words. So this is kind of like a classic intellectual curiosity why major question, except honestly, for this one, it doesn't actually have to be directly related to your major. A lot of schools will phrase like, oh, why did you choose the topic above? And then the topic was like your major, right? So for this one, it does not necessarily have to connect to your major. However, I do think that it should be something at least adjacent to or closely tied with. Now, this all depends on kind of what your other essays are about. So for example, if it's super obvious from your Common App essay, like what your major is, it's like super academic, then for this, maybe you can choose something different or slightly unrelated. But in the case that your Common App essay is more personal, it's more about growth and relationships, then yes, I would highly recommend for this one to be directly tied to your major. Now, intellectual curiosity experiences can begin in all kinds of ways. If you are choosing an experience that began for you in school, like maybe you had a project or a lab or an assignment that you are really invested in, the key here is to show that you've gone above and beyond what that project required. That to me is how you really demonstrate intellectual curiosity, like a hunger that took you beyond the classroom. So did you put in a lot of extra hours outside of class beyond the parameters of what was required to just kind of show, yeah, you are really invested in this beyond just getting a good grade? So taking initiative is the best way to show that you are, quote, genuinely excited about learning. So paint a picture of you getting carried away by your passion. You know, does this mean late nights up, your eyes are red from like going down a Wikipedia rabbit hole? Does it mean seeking out all the professionals in your field around you and having conversations with them, right? There's just many different ways that you can show that you're genuinely excited about learning. And it's something that may have started in the classroom, which is totally fine, but you kind of took it outside of the classroom. It became something that you're passionate about all on your own. Here's the second question. Virtually all of Stanford's undergraduates live on campus. Write a note to your future roommate that reveals something about you or that will help your roommate and us know you better. 100 to 250 words. Okay, the and us is kind of really important, right? Because a real note that you're going to write to your roommate is probably going to be very different than the note that you're going to write as a college essay. So a couple things about this. It should be addressed to your roommate, right? So dear whatever or hi, however you want to begin it. May or may not include a signature sign off by you, right? It just depends on your word count. Now, 250 words is quite a bit of space for a note to your roommate. And I really want you not to waste a single line. So for example, lines like, I can't wait to meet you. Well, that's kind of obvious, right? And it doesn't really tell the admissions officers or your roommate anything about you because most people are genuinely excited to meet their roommate. But there are many ways that you can be specific about inviting your roommate to join you on things, as well as Stanford specific. So be invitational in this letter. Like if you are probably going to join like a robotics club, well, you can name Stanford specific robotics club and invite your roommate to come watch you build your dream robot that, I don't know, throws peanuts into a trash can, whatever, right? So be invitational with your roommate and then also be Stanford specific. You can treat part of this essay almost like a little why us essay. Because this essay is so long, I would recommend you to try to find as best as you can, almost like a running theme or something to connect the different points that you're going to bring up through this essay. Otherwise, it just becomes like a paragraph about this, and then a paragraph about this, and a paragraph about this, and then I kind of don't have a sense of how it all ties into one person. So maybe you can get creative with a theme or a metaphor or something that can tie these 3 or 4 different points about you into one person. I've had students write about surviving a zombie apocalypse. I've had students write about this like as a recipe. I've had students write this as a poem or a song. Mine personally had the running theme of me being an MCU, a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, because that's what I was. That's who I was at that time. But the deeper thing that revealed about me is that I will take my silly little passions and find a way to tie them into real world things, real world stakes. So my examples were like, oh, I did a statistics project about Marvel moviegoers, looking at gender. I also did a paper on how 9/11 affected the superhero industry and on and on. So it's just showing the admissions officers like the deeper thing about me, which is that, I can think very deeply about these big world issues. And MCU just happened to be my running theme that connected everything in my essay. The last longer essay is, please describe what aspects of your life experiences, interests, and character would help you make a distinctive contribution as an undergraduate to Stanford University. Again, max is 250 words. Anytime you see the words distinctive contribution or contribute, you're going to ask yourself this question. What superpower are you bringing to campus? So you can either work backwards, like if you know that you have a certain skill set or there's a value or trait that you really want to show off about. Okay, that's the superpower you're bringing to campus. How did you develop that superpower in the first place? And that is the anecdote or the story that is going to anchor this particular essay. Now, contribute for this particular essay is a pretty big key word. I would paint a picture of how you would actually physically, tangibly contribute at Stanford. So for example, let's say your superpower is you can connect to a variety of people from different backgrounds because you speak like 15 languages and you've lived all around the world. How are you going to put that into action at Stanford? Does this mean that you're going to be an ambassador for a specific cultural house? Does that mean you are going to pioneer a cultural fair where all of the cultural houses come together and share things about their food, their languages? Like, what are you going to put into action on campus? And so this does require a little bit of research, again, into Stanford, right? It's nice that, again, we can treat this, the second half of this essay, also like a why us, why Stanford essay, just showing off that, yes, you have done your research into this school and that you can paint a picture for the admissions officers. This is how I'm going to fit in. This is how I'm going to contribute on campus. This is how I'm going to make Stanford a better, more vibrant place. All right, let's dive into the short takes. Each of these are 50 words. So number 1, what is the most significant challenge that society faces today? So what this question is really saying is, what is the most significant challenge to you that you might have had firsthand or secondhand, or it's a challenge that's really important to you, has some sort of stakes in your life? Essentially, don't choose a super broad challenge that you have not done anything to tackle. So for example, I would say like poverty, world hunger, those are kind of really, really big picture, very significant challenges, but a little bit too broad, unless your work is directly related to, I don't know, feeding orphans in the DR. There are different things you need to take into account for this. I would recommend just taking the significant out of the equation in the sense that there are so many problems. This world has so many problems, right? And you are not going to choose the most significant challenge. You're going to choose a challenge that's important to you. For this question, when I was applying, I wrote about diversity in Hollywood and specifically like Asian American representation in Hollywood. Is that this society's biggest, most important challenge? It is obviously not. It's just one small thing in a world, a sea full of challenges. But because it directly related to me, I was an Asian American in media, that was relevant for me to write about. And it's something that I was genuinely passionate about. So pick something that you are passionate about, that your work or the stuff that you do does address, and be super specific about what the challenge is. So for example, a lot of students want to write about polarization. There are so many different causes behind polarization. What I want to hear is like, what is your hypothesis of like the true cause? Is it the algorithm on our social media? Is it the lack of third spaces? Is it an increasingly segregated neighborhood experiences, right? There's just so many different causes behind that problem. So the more specific you can be about the why behind the challenge, like that will help this essay pop. The second short take is, how did you spend your last 2 summers? So there's a variety of ways you can tackle this. I mean, it is pretty short, 50 words. So I have seen students like do it as a list, like incomplete sentences. You can also do it as full sentences. I've just seen there's many different ways you can tackle this. The really important thing here is to consider, why are they asking you this question if they already know kind of technically what you did with your last 2 summers because of your ECs list, right? So there is room here to include details that are not related to your extracurriculars at all. So things that are happening in your personal life or family life, as well as details about your extracurriculars that we simply don't see from that list because it's just so condensed. So for example, if you drove like 2 hours every day to your internship, that might be worth including here, because that's definitely not going to pop up on your ECs list, but it gives me an idea of how much you sacrifice to go to that internship. Other small things you can include are like the fun things that you did with your friends, or if you did any travels with your families, but making sure that it is a balance of stuff that's like more serious and important and, I don't know, relevant to your application, with a little bit of mix of the personal thrown in and maybe some humor even. The third question is, what historical moment or event do you wish you could have witnessed? Now, historical doesn't necessarily mean ancient. It could be something in recent time period that is of note. So if you have an interest that doesn't pop up anywhere else on your application, this is where you would mention it. So for me, I was obsessed with samurais at the time, and it was thanks to a live action adaptation of a manga that I got into at that time. But anyways, this was where I was able to show off like, oh, I know an oddly large amount about samurais because I did like a research paper on it too for like AP World History. And yeah, it's just a place to show off like one more additional fascination you might have. Whatever moment it is that you choose, and especially if it is a more well-known moment, I'm going to challenge you. You need to pick like a specific moment within that historical event. So saying like you want to be a part of like, if you want to be transported back to the Revolutionary War, that is so broad. Can you choose a specific night? And even in that night, what are you actually examining? Are you looking at the moment where soldiers are strapping up, ready to go to war? Are you looking at the moment of victory when the townspeople heard that, you know, their people won? So there are different moments that you can kind of hone in on, and the specificity of those moments is going to tell me something about who you are as a person. Number 4 is briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities, a job you hold, or responsibilities you have for your family. Again, why are they asking this? They already have your ECs list, right? This is a place to, if you're choosing an extracurricular, show off like what is so meaningful about that EC to you. Like, why do you do it? A lot of the times it has something to do with how you feel you have carried out your purpose or the scale of impact. Many times students also write about the people that they connect to through those ECs. So just pick one important EC or a thing about your life that you haven't had a chance to talk about anywhere else on your app except for the ECs list, and really paint a picture of what it's like for you to participate in that in this essay. And the final question is, list 5 things that are important to you. Okay, so whenever you are constructing a list, the advice I like to give to students is that try to balance out like the big and the small things on your list. Like have a variety of things on your list. Isn't that fun? And by variety, I mean, you know, some of these things on your list can be more grandiose. It can be bigger picture. It can be career or future oriented. I would love for you to contrast that with something really, really small and really tangible and really maybe mundane even. So like if you really love like deep philosophical conversations past midnight with your friends about a certain philosopher's school of thought, the next thing on that list might be like whisking your matcha, right? It's very important to you. So like that to me, I think is really fun when people do that because it just gives a scale, a big range of who you are and what you enjoy. Something of note, not to say that you can't do it, but I will say like stuffed animals and pets tend to pop up a lot in here. It's not that you can't write about it, but can you give me some specifics and a sense of like, why are they important to you beyond the obvious, right? So I know that people love their pets because, I don't know, unconditional love, but is there something specific about your dog's personality that you in particular love? Is there a story behind your favorite stuffed animal besides the fact that you carry it around with you everywhere? Like, what are we actually saying about you? Or can you be more specific about why you love those things? And things it can be objects, it can be people, it can be rituals, it can be intangibles, right? So you can really construct a pretty great list with quite some range. And I would say start in a place of truth and then work to get hyper specific. So for example, for me, place truth, and for a lot of students too, time with family quality time. I love that you love spending time with your family. That's amazing. That's awesome. That is too vague because your family time is going to look really different than my family time. So my family time looks like me taking my mom to go see shows and me playing pickleball with my dad and us playing mahjong together, the four of us, right? It's going to look really different probably than how you spend family time. So I love that you're starting in a place of truth. Just get more and more specific with each draft for this list. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other requests, leave them in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.